Alina, there's a smudge on the Baccarat crystal at table 4. Fix it, and try to stay out of the frame of the Vogue photographer. You have that industrial scent about you today. I heard Sarah's voice through my earpiece before I felt her presence. It is a voice I engineered. I paid for the vocal coach who stripped away her high-pitched insecurity and replaced it with a low, authoritative purr. I paid for the $200 an ounce green juice that keeps her vocal cords hydrated and her skin the color of a fresh pearl. Sarah Thorne, the CEO of Thorne Elite, was standing on the grand staircase of the Hotel de la Marine in Paris. She was wearing a custom gown of midnight blue silk. Thread count 800. Weight exactly 3.8 kilograms. Retail price $42,000. She was holding a glass of 1996 Dom Perignon. The bubbles in her glass were rising at a frequency of approximately 30 per second, the mark of a perfect pour. She didn't look at my face. She looked at the small, nearly invisible wrinkle in the tablecloth at the edge of her peripheral vision. To her, I wasn't a partner. I wasn't the woman who had spent 3,650 days building this empire from a kitchen table in a drafty apartment. I was a malfunction in the aesthetic. I was the plumbing that had dared to leak onto the marble. I'm no longer on the clock, Sarah, I said. My voice was the weather report, absolute zero. I didn't whisper. I didn't shout. I spoke with the clinical clarity of a surgeon calling a time of death. Sarah paused, her champagne flute halfway to her lips. She turned her head exactly 15 degrees, the angle we practiced to maximize the light on her cheekbones. She looked at my black turtleneck. Thrift store. $12. She looked at my hands, which were dry and red from coordinating the arrival of 3 tons of white peonies in 40-degree weather. Don't be dramatic, Alina, she whispered, her smile remaining fixed for the cameras. You're the backbone. Backbones don't have hours, they just support. Go find a cloth, table 4 now. She didn't realize that the backbone had just walked out of the body. She didn't know that Juliana No Alina Vance was done being the floor everyone walked on. If you are watching this, please subscribe. And tell me in the comments where you are watching from. Have you ever built a palace for someone else, only to have them tell you that you aren't refined enough to sit at the table? Let's talk about the audit. Flashback to 48 hours ago. The Thorne Elite boardroom. The air was pressurized, filtered, and smelled of $500 an ounce white musk. Sarah sat at the head of the table, the seat I had designed for her. She pushed a single piece of paper across the polished obsidian surface. A termination notice. The LVMH buyout is finalized, she said. Her voice was as cold as the ice in the silver bucket behind her. The new owners want a global face for the brand. They want aspiration. You're too behind the scenes, Elena. You're the plumbing, and when a palace is sold, the new owners don't want to meet the plumber. They want the chandelier. I've signed the deal. I'm the sole founder on the documents. Your 40% verbal equity, it's not in the contract. I've authorized a severance of $50,000. Think of it as a tip for 10 years of sturdy service. I looked at the $50,000 figure. It was the price of the floral budget for a single one of our bronze-level weddings. It was 0.125% of the $40 million buyout. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I looked at the obsidian desk. I realized then that Sarah Thorne didn't own Thorne Elite. She owned the paint. I owned the engines. Now back to the Hotel de la Marines. The global gala. The air smells of $15,000 worth of white truffles and the sweat of 500 billionaires. The humidity is a precise 45%. I am standing in the shadows of the velvet curtains. I am wearing the help uniform, the black turtleneck that makes me invisible to the sun people. I am watching the chandelier shine. Sarah is on the stage now. She is telling the story of her self-made journey. She is talking about authenticity and the soul of service. She doesn't mention the woman who spent the last 6 months negotiating with the French unions so this gala wouldn't be picketed. She doesn't mention the woman who has the private cell phone numbers of every person in this room and the names of their mistresses. She doesn't mention the plumbing. I reach into the pocket of my scratchy trousers. I pull out my phone. I have a master app opened. Thorne Elite operational grids. This app controls the perfect life of every client Sarah claims to own. It controls the flight paths of 4 private jets currently over the Atlantic. It controls the climate systems of 6 villas in Tuscany. It controls the security codes for the vault in Sarah's penthouse. Most importantly, it controls the global resource network. The network is a list of 1,200 elite vendors. The Michelin chefs who only cook for us. The blood banks that keep rare types on hand for our VIPs. The private security firms that bury the scandals. Sarah thinks these vendors belong to the company. She doesn't realize they belong to me. They don't recognize the name Sarah Thorne. They recognize the voice of the woman who paid their invoices on time for a decade. They recognize the gray ghost. I look at the countdown clock on my screens. 09:24 p.m. In exactly 6 minutes, the LVMH executives will walk onto the stage to hand Sarah the ceremonial golden key to the conglomerate. The photographers are ready. The Sun people are holding their breaths. I remember 2014. The year we almost lost everything. A client's son had caused a fatal accident in a rented Ferrari in Monaco. The family was hysterical. Sarah was in the bathtub drinking gin and crying because the brand is ruined. I spent 48 hours on the phone. I moved the body. I paid the local police. I negotiated a settlement that cost $2 million and a lifetime of silence. I was the one who scrubbed the blood off the leather. I was the one who ensured that by Monday morning, the world only saw a minor mechanical failure. Sarah emerged from the tub, put on a silk robe, and told the press, "We value safety above all else at Thorne Elite." I was the sturdy kitchen chair. I was the one who held the weight while she looked at the view. 2018. The parallel contrast. Sarah got a $200,000 brand ambassador allowance. I got a stomach ulcer and a prescription for high-altitude anti-anxiety meds. Sarah got a summer house in the Hamptons. I got the privilege of ensuring the pool was exactly 82 degrees before she arrived. Our mother, who Sarah eventually hired as a lifestyle consultant, said, "Elena, you're so reliable, you're like a stone. Sarah is a diamond, she needs to be polished, she needs the light." You don't need the light, honey, you're the earth that the diamond is buried in. Well, the earth is about to shift. And diamonds are very brittle under pressure. I look at the screen. 09:28 p.m. I hit the first button. Revoke vendor credentials. The signal travels from my phone to the servers in Switzerland. In an instant, the Thorne Elite corporate credit cards, the ones the caterers, the florists, and the security teams are using tonight, are flagged as stolen. I hit the second button. Activate access logic bomb. The private cell phone numbers of the 500 guests in this room. Deleted. The itineraries for their private jets tomorrow. Zeroed out. The security codes for their villas. Reset to a 12-digit sequence that only I know. I hit the third button. Terminate infrastructure. The Hotel de la Marine is a historic building. The electrical grid is delicate. It relies on a series of industrial generators that I personally rented for this evening. I move the slider from 100% to 0%. I look at the stage. Sarah is smiling. She is reaching for the golden K. She looks like the chandelier. Bright, expensive, fragile. The lights don't just flicker. They die. A total clinical blackout. The silence that follows is 0.1 decibels. The sound of a social empire reaching absolute zero. I walk toward the service exit. My $15 agency boots make no sound on the marble. I pass the Vogue photographer. He is fumbling with his camera in the dark. I pass the LVMH CDO. He is whispering to his assistant about a security breach. I reach the side entrance. The night air in Paris is 48 degrees. The humidity is 60%. I look at the Rolls-Royce waiting at the curb. The driver, the man I've worked with for 8 years, opens the back door. "Is it done, Ms. Vance?" he asks. His voice is steady. Functional. "The audit is complete," I say. I sit in the back seat. The leather is cold. The silence is perfect. The plumbing has been disconnected. Let's see how long the chandelier stays in the air without a ceiling. I put on my sunglasses, even in the dark. Because when the sun finally realizes it's been eclipsed by a shadow, the glare is going to be blinding. The weather report for Sarah Thorne. Total darkness. 100% chance of a catastrophic fall. And the driver. The driver is finally enjoying the view from the back seat. 09:28:45 p.m. The grand atrium of the Hotel de la Marines. The blackout was not a flicker. It was a clinical erasure of the lights. The emergency exit signs are the only things left alive. They cast a sickly neon green glow over the $42,000 silk of Sarah's dress. Under this light, the midnight blue fabric doesn't look like luxury. It looks like a bruise. The humidity in the room has risen to 48%. 500 billionaires are breathing the same stagnant air, and for the first time in their lives, they are experiencing the one thing money cannot buy: the ability to see in the dark. The silence lasted for exactly 4.2 seconds. Then came the sound of the sun people falling apart. It started with the clatter of a baccarat crystal glass hitting the marble. Smash. $250 of leaded glass turned into 1,000 jagged diamonds on the floor. Then came the whispers. Where is the security? Why isn't the backup generator kicking in? Is this a terrorist attack? The air smells of Santal 33, expensive gin, and the sharp, metallic tang of human sweat. Panic has a specific scent. It smells like unfiltered reality. I am standing 3 feet from the LVMH CEO. In the dark, he is just a man with a racing heartbeat. I can hear his watch ticking. A Patek Philippe grand complications. It keeps perfect time, but it can't tell him where the exit is. He reaches out his hand, fumbling for the golden key that was supposed to be on the podium. His fingers brush against Sarah's arm. She flinches. She makes a sound, a high, sharp intake of breath. The sound of the chandelier realizing it's made of glass. Alina, Sarah's voice hissed through the darkness. She isn't using the executive purr anymore. She is using the voice of the girl I found 10 years ago in a shared apartment with a broken heater. The voice of a malfunction. Alina, where are you? Fix this now. I don't answer. I am standing perfectly still in my black turtleneck. I am a shadow among shadows. I look at my phone screen. The brightness is turned down to 10%. The Thorne Elite operational grid is a sea of red icons. Catering offline. Valet offline. Security COMMS encrypted. I watched the head of security, a man named Miller whom I hired in 2019, try to use his radio. He presses the button. The red light on his shoulder flashes 3 times and dies. I changed the encryption frequency at 09:27 p.m. He is a professional, he knows how to handle a riot. But he doesn't know how to handle a ghost. He looks around the dark room, his eyes scanning for the person who controls the circuit breaker. He looks right at me. I don't blink. He doesn't see Alina Vance, the partner who paid his daughter's tuition when she was sick. He sees a shadow near the curtain. He moves on. If you are watching this, please subscribe. Tell me in the comments. When the lights go out, who is the first person you look for? Is it the person with the title or the person with the keys? Sarah is fumbling for her own phone now. She pulls it from her Dior clutch. The screen glows. She tries to call the hotel manager. Call failed. She tries to call me. My phone is in my hand, but the number she is dialing was disconnected 30 minutes ago. The bank of Elena is closed. The server of Elena is wiped. I see a waiter trip in the dark. He is carrying a tray of the $15,000 white truffles. They hit the floor with a soft, wet thud. Under the green emergency light, they look like gray stones. Sarah sees them. She sees her royal opening becoming a slapstick comedy of errors. She grabs the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, she shouts, trying to reclaim the room. But without the $10,000 microphone system I tuned for her, her voice is thin. It's fragile. It carries exactly 12 feet before it's swallowed by the vaulted ceiling. The chandelier is screaming, but the room is too large to care. I walk toward the side entrance. I pass the LVMH CDO. I lean in just close enough for him to smell the industrial soap on my hands. The scent of the plumbing. The audit has begun, monsieur, I whisper. I don't wait for him to turn around. I step out of the atrium. The service hallway is lit by low-wattage bulbs. The air is cooler here. I walk past the kitchen. The Michelin-starred chefs are standing in the dark, staring at their electric stoves. They can't cook. They can't see the recipes. One of them, a man named Henry who has 3 stars and a temper like a forest fire, sees me. Elena, the power is out, the truffles are wilting, the guests are leaving. I know Henry, I say. I stop and look at him. The contract you signed was with Thorne Elite. But the person who guaranteed your payment was me. And I just resigned. Henry's face goes from anger to clinical calculation. He is a businessman, he knows what a default looks like. What about the invoice, he asks. $85,000 for tonight. The company credit card is on the desk in the office, I say. But you might want to run the charge before the bank realizes the CEO is currently a ghost. I keep walking. Every step I take is a brick removed from the wall. I reach the heavy oak doors of the side entrance. The night air of Paris hits me. 48 degrees. 0% humidity. The sky is black, but the stars are real. I look at the Rolls-Royce Phantom. The black paint is polished to a mirror finish. The driver, Pierre, is standing by the door. He is wearing the $800 uniform I bought for him last Christmas. He sees me. He doesn't ask where Sarah is. He doesn't ask about the blackout. He knows the weather report. He opens the door. To the airport, Pierre, I say. The private terminal. No, I say, sitting on the cold leather. The commercial terminal. I want to sit with the people who have last names. I close the door. The sound of the seal is the sound of a vacuum. Inside this car, the world is stable. Behind those doors, Sarah Thorne is standing in the dark, surrounded by 500 people who are about to find out that her self-made empire doesn't have a backup battery. The weather report for the Hotel de la Marine. Freezing rain. 100% chance of a total collapse. And the chandelier. It's about to hit the floor. Flashback to 2013. The beginning. Sarah Thorne and I were sitting at a kitchen table in a 400-square-foot apartment. The table was made of particle board and hope. The air smelled of cheap ramen and the wet laundry hanging on the radiator. Sarah was crying. She had just been fired from a mid-tier PR firm because she lacked the attention to detail. I'm a visionary, Elena, she sobbed, her mascara running down her cheeks. I'm not meant to file papers, I'm meant to change lives. I was 22. I was working 2 jobs. Data entry by day. Night shift concierge at a luxury hotel by night. I looked at the pile of unpaid bills on the tables. I looked at Sarah's visionary sketches, mood boards for a lifestyle brand that had no clients and no capital. I'll do the filing, Sarah, I said. I reached out and took her hand. Her skin was soft. Mine was already starting to callous from the industrial cleaner I used at the hotel. You be the face, you be the light. I'll be the engine. I didn't realize then that engines are never invited to the dinner party. They are kept in the basement, bolted to the floor, and expected to run 24 hours a day until they seize. 2014. The first million milestone. We had our first major client, a Russian oligarch's wife who wanted a perfect Manhattan winter. She wanted real snow in her penthouse. She wanted a 40-foot Christmas tree imported from a specific forest in Norway. She wanted a private performance by a retired prima ballerina. Sarah took the meeting. She wore a $2,000 dress we bought on a high-interest credit card. She drank the vodka. She smiled the smile. She promised the world. I was the one who spent the next 72 hours on the phone with customs. I was the one who negotiated with the Norwegian Forestry Department. I was the one who found the ballerina in a nursing home in New Jersey and convinced her to dance one last time. I was the one who spent Christmas Eve in the service elevator, coordinating the delivery of 3 tons of artificial snow because the real snow had melted in transit. When the client's wife walked into the room and gasped, Sarah was standing by the tree. She looked like the sun. She told the client, "I wanted to capture the soul of the North for you." I was in the kitchen, eating a cold sandwich, making sure the ballerina's oxygen tank was full. Sarah got a $50,000 bonus. I got a thank you text and a prescription for beta blockers. 2017. The grind montage. 3,650 days. That is how long I worked without a vacation. 24 hours a day. My phone was a leash. If a client's mistress was pregnant in London, I handled the clinic. If a CDO was caught with a bag of white powder in Dubai, I handled the police. If Sarah wanted a new villa in St. Bart's, I handled the mortgage. I learned the microaggression of the elites. "Alina, you're so reliable," Sarah would say, usually as she was leaving for a week-long spiritual retreat in Bali. "You're like a sturdy kitchen chair. Stable. Ugly, but you hold the weight." "I need the sun, Alina. My soul is a diamond. It needs the light." The diamond was spending $2 million a year on her lifestyle. I was the one who hid the debt. I was the one who moved money from the operational fund to the Sarah fund. I was the one who signed the NDAs with the accountants. I became the architect of her delusions. I made her believe she was a genius, so she would stay out of the way while I ran the empire. 2020. The pandemic. The luxury world stopped. The sun people were terrified. They were trapped in their penthouses, realizing that their money couldn't kill a virus. Sarah was in the Hamptons, having a nervous breakdown because the pool heater was broken. I was in the office in the city. Empty streets. Silence. I spent the year auditing the Thorne Elite client list. I realized that I didn't work for Sarah Thorne. I worked for the 1%. And the 1% didn't care about the chandelier. They cared about the plumbing. I started building my own resource grid. I didn't use the company servers. I used my own. I moved the private contact info for the vendors into an encrypted cloud that Sarah couldn't access. I moved the conflict files, the records of every scandal I had buried, into a dead man's switch. Now back to the Rolls-Royce. Paris, 10:14 p.m. The rain is starting to fall. A cold, needle-like drizzle. The humidity is rising, but I don't feel the dampness. I look at the Patek Philippe on my wrist. Not a grand complication. A 1950s Calatrava. Simple. Manual wind. Functional. It tells me that in exactly 6 minutes, the LVMH CEO will try to call Sarah's business account to cancel the deal. He will realize that the operational infrastructure he just bought for $40 million doesn't exist. It was never the company's. It was always mine. I open my phone. I have a new message from Julian Vance, my alias for the Swiss partners. "The blackout was a success. The stock is dropping. Are you ready for the second audit?" I type one word. Yes. I look out the window. The Eiffel Tower is glowing in the distance. It is a structure of steel. It doesn't need silk to be beautiful. It just needs to be solid. And tonight the stone is finally standing on its own. The weather report for Sarah Thorne. Total blackout. 0% chance of recovery. And the sturdy chair. I've already moved to a new rooms. 08:14:22 a.m. The morning after the Paris blackout. I am sitting in a room at a budget hotel near Charles de Gaulle Airport. The room is 180 square feet. The air smells of industrial lemon cleaner and the faint, dusty scent of a carpet that has seen too many travelers. The humidity is exactly 32%. It is a dry, honest climate. I am wearing a white bathrobe. Polyester blend. Retail price $19.99. It is scratchy against my skin, but it is mine. It was not a gift from a client. It was not a perk of the job. I bought it with my own money, earned from a side consultancy Sarah never knew about. My phone is on the nightstand. It is vibrating at a frequency of 10 hertz. A steady, annoying throb of desperate data. I have 114 missed calls from Sarah Thorne. I have 42 text messages from our mother, Evelyn Vance. Evelyn doesn't work in the engines. She works in the aesthetic. 2 years ago, Sarah hired her as the senior lifestyle consultant for Thorne Elite. It was a mercy hire, a way to keep the woman who gave birth to us on a leash of silk and dividends. I opened the first message from Evelyn. Alina, you've gone too far this time. Sarah is hysterical. She is at the Ritz and the management is asking for a different credit card. The LVMH CEO has blocked her number. You are the stable one, honey. You are the stones. Stones don't move when the wind blows. Go back to the hotel, fix the generators, fix the deal. Don't be the person who ruins your sister's only window to be a queen. The sturdy stone. That is her favorite microaggression. She has used it since 1998. Flashback to 2005. The parallel contrast of the childhood. Sarah was 12. I was 14. Sarah wanted to be a ballerina. She had the line our mother said. The line of a masterpiece. Evelyn spent $4,000 on private lessons at a studio in the city. She spent $600 on silk point shoes that were worn for exactly 3 weeks. I got a job at the local library, shelving books for $6.50 an hour. I wore a pair of sneakers I found at a yard sale for $5. The soles were thin. I could feel the cold of the concrete through the rubber. Evelyn said, Alina is so practical, she has those sturdy feet. She doesn't need the silk. She understands the value of $1. But Sarah needs the magic. Magic is expensive, Alina, and you are the one who makes the magic possible. 2010. High school graduation. Sarah got a discovery trip to Italy. Cost $12,000. She went to find her aesthetic. I got a bus pass and a hand-me-down laptop from our aunt. The AK was missing. The battery lasted exactly 14 minutes. I used that laptop to apply for the night shift concierge position at the St. Regis. I worked 11:00 p.m. to 07:00 a.m. I wore a polyester uniform that was 2 sizes too big. I saved every dollar. I was the one who paid for the medical bills when Evelyn had her nervous collapse in 2012. Sarah was in London then, interning at a fashion house that didn't pay her. She sent a postcard, thinking of you, Mom, the light here is so inspiring. I was the one who scrubbed the vomit off the bathroom floor. I was the one who signed the insurance forms. I was the sturdy chair. 2022. The Thorne Elite family audit. Evelyn's salary as a consultant, $150,000 a year. Her job description, picking the scent of the candles in the lobby. My salary as the operational partner, $120,000 a year. My job description, managing $40 million in assets, 1,200 vendors, and the private lives of 500 billionaires. When I asked Sarah for an equity adjustment, Evelyn was the one who talked me down. She sat me in a Louis XIV chair in Sarah's penthouse. She touched my hand with fingers that were soft from $400 an ounce creams. Alina, honey, money is just numbers for someone like you. You're a machine, you'll always be successful. But Sarah, she needs the equity to feel secure. She needs the crown to stay upright. You're the floor, Alina, floors don't need crowns. Well, the floor just grew wheels. And the crown is currently sitting in a puddle of spilled champagne in a dark atrium. I look at the hotel room windows. The Paris sky is gray. The weather report for Evelyn Vance is a frost warning. She doesn't realize that the $150,000 salary was not a gift from Sarah. It was a line item in the budget that I approved every January. It was a subsidy from the sturdy stone. And the stone just decided to sink. I pick up my phone. I type a reply to our mother. The suite at the Ritz has been canceled, Evelyn. Thorne Elite is currently under a liquidity moratorium. I've already redirected your consultancy fees to the legal fund for the LVMH breach of contract. You're a visual person, right? I suggest you take a look at the bus schedule. The texture of the plastic seats is very industrial. I hit send. I feel a vibration in my chest. It's not guilt. It's the sound of a machine finally reaching a steady idle. The audit of the womb is complete. The debt is unrecoverable. Status closed. 02:14:15 p.m. The Thorne Elite headquarters, New York City. I am not in the buildings. I am in a black SUV parked across the street, watching through the tinted glass. The building is a needle of glass and steel that I spent 10 years polishing. The air inside is usually pressurized to feel like a spa. Today, the air is stagnant. The security guards, men I hired, men whose children's hospital bills I paid in 2019, are standing by the door. They look confused. Their radios are silent. The executive grid is still dark. Sarah arrives in a yellow taxi. Not a town car. Not a limo. The LVMH car service was revoked at 04:00 a.m. Paris time. She is still wearing the midnight blue silk gown. It is wrinkled at the waist. There is a smudge of soot on the hem from the generator fumes. She looks like a masterpiece that has been left in a rainstorm. She tries to swipe her card at the glass doors. Access DNID. The red light on the scanner is the color of a stoplight. The color of a life that has reached the end of the runway. I roll down the window of the SUV. The humidity in New York is 88% today. It is a heavy, thick heat. It smells of asphalt and the exhaust of the millions of people who actually work for a living. Sarah sees me. She freezes. She walks toward the car, her $1,200 satin heels clicking on the hot pavement. She looks like the chandelier, but the bulbs are burnt out. Alina, she screams. Her voice is no longer a purr. It is a jagged, hysterical sound. It is the sound of a brand that has lost its trademark. Open the door, what have you done to the accounts? The LVMH CEO called me, he said the infrastructure is a ghost. He said the vendors are suing, my credit card declined at the airport. I don't open the door. I look at her through the gap in the window. I am wearing my $12 black turtleneck and my $15 agency boots. I look like the plumbing. I look like the thing that actually makes the building stand. The infrastructure wasn't a ghost, Sarah, I say. My voice is the weather report, absolute zero. It was me. The 1,200 vendors, they don't work for Thorne Elite. They work for Alina Vance. They work for the person who knows their wives' birthdays and pays their invoices on the first of the month without being asked. The LVMH deal wasn't for your face. It was for my engine. And when you fired the engine, the car stopped moving. Sarah bangs her fist on the glass. The sound is a dull, hollow thud. A sound of 0.1 decibels. I am the founder, I am the brand, you're just a manager. You're like a sturdy kitchen chair, I can buy another one at IKEA. Go ahead and try, Sarah, I say. I pull a cardboard box from the seat next to me. Inside is the 1950s Patek Philippe. Inside is the set of silver cufflinks from our father. Inside is the only thing that was real in this building. But you might find that IKEA doesn't sell stability. And they certainly don't sell silence. I hand her a single piece of paper through the window. It is a spreadsheet. Itemized audit of Sarah Thorne's personal debt. You spent $12 million of the operational budget on your aesthetic over the last 3 years. I didn't report it to the board because I was the board. But since I'm no longer an employee, I had a legal obligation to disclose the financial irregularities to the LVMH legal team. They aren't just canceling the deal, Sarah. They're suing you for fraudulent inducement. The color drains from Sarah's face. It is a clinical transformation. From self-made queen to convicted liability in exactly 4.2 seconds. She looks at the building. The chandelier is still hanging in the atrium, but the lights will never come back on. The ceiling has been removed. Where am I supposed to go, Alina? She whispers. The microaggression is gone. The arrogance is gone. There is only the utility of the broken. The bus stop is at the corner of 42nd and 5th, I say. The fare is $2.75. If you can't afford it, I can lend you a coins. But I'll expect it back with 22% interest. I roll up the window. The sound of the glass sliding into the frame is the sound of a vault door closing. I nod to the driver. The SUV pulls away from the curb. I look in the rearview mirrors. I see Sarah Thorne standing on the sidewalk in $42,000 of silk, clutching a spreadsheet of her own failures. She looks small. She looks gray. She looks like the plumbing after it's been ripped out of the wall. The weather report for the city. Clear skies. Visibility infinity. 100% chance of a new blueprint. I am Alina Vance. I am the concrete. I am the piston. And for the first time in 10 years, I am not carrying the house. I am the one who owns the land. 04:12:05 a.m. A 24-hour diner on the edge of the industrial district. The air in the diner smells of burnt coffee, grease that hasn't been changed since Tuesday, and the stale, damp scent of people who have nowhere else to go. The humidity is exactly 62%. The perfect climate for a masterpiece to start to mold. I am sitting in the back booth. I am wearing my $12 black turtleneck. I am drinking a cup of tea that costs $1.50. The tea bag is generic. The water is slightly too hot. It burns the tip of my tongue, but the pain is a data point. It reminds me that I am awake. I am watching Sarah Thorne. She is sitting 3 booths away. She is still wearing the midnight blue silk gown. The $42,000 dress is now a liability. The hem is soaked with the gray slush of a New York rainstorm. The silk has lost its drape. It now clings to her legs like a cold, wet bandage. She is holding a menu that is laminated in cracked plastic. She looks at the prices. Grilled cheese, $8.50. Coffee, $2. She reaches into her Dior clutch. She pulls out a gold American Express card. She looks at it like it's a religious relic that has failed to perform a miracle. She knows it's dead. I killed the primary account at 09:28 p.m. 10 minutes ago. The waiter, a man named Lou who has been working this shift for 30 years, approached her. You ordering, honey, or just renting the seat? Sarah looked up at him. She tried to use the executive purr. I'm waiting for my driver, she said. Her voice was a broken reed. I seem to have a temporary issue with my credentials. Lou didn't look at her face. He looked at the dirt on her silk sleeve. Driver ain't coming, lady. The bus stops outside every 20 minutes. You want the coffee or not? Sarah flinched. The chandelier was being talked to like plumbing. The parallel contrast was complete. Yesterday, she was the sun and the world revolved around her itinerary. Today, she is a lady in a booth and the world revolves around Lou's patience. If you are watching this, please subscribe. Tell me in the comments, how long does it take for a social queen to realize she is just a person in a wet dress? I look at my phone. I have a notification from the LVMH legal team. Notification, fraudulent inducement claim filed. VANCE Holdings assets frozen. The $40 million buyout hasn't just disappeared. It has become a black hole. Every dollar Sarah spent on her aesthetic is being clawed back by the forensic accountants I hired. I stand up. The gray canvas of my uniform, I'm still wearing the gaby trousers under my coat rustles. I walk past her booth. I drop a coin on her table. A quarter. For the bus, Sarah, I say. My voice is the weather report, absolute zero. Try to stay out of the rain, the silk doesn't handle reality very well. Sarah looks up. She says me. She sees the woman she called a sturdy kitchen chair. Her eyes are red-rimmed. The glow has been replaced by the raw, chapped skin of a woman who has been screaming in a taxi for 3 hours. You monster, she whispers. You're destroying my life. No, Sarah, I say. I'm just withdrawing the subsidy. The life you had was a loan. And the interest was my soul. I'm just here to collect the principal. I walk out of the diners. The New York rain is 45 degrees. The humidity is 100%. The weather report for Sarah Thorne is a total blackout. And for the first time in 10 years, I don't have to carry the umbrella. Monday, 10:14 a.m. Sarah Thorne's penthouse, Upper East Side. The air in the foyer smells of lavabo and the metallic scent of a safe being opened by someone who doesn't know the code. The humidity is exactly 50%. The perfect climate for a fire. I am standing in the center of the living room. I am wearing a suit of charcoal vicuña wool. Price $18,500. The same suit Marcus Vance wore in my other life. It is the uniform of the owner. I am holding a tablet. The inventory of deception. Two men in black suits are carrying the $32,000 white Italian leather sofa out the front door. They are professional liquidators. They don't care about textures. They don't care about the line of the furniture. They only care about the serial numbers. Sarah is standing in the kitchen doorway. She is wearing a bathrobe. Polyester. $19.99. The same one I wore at the airport hotel. The parallel contrast of the wardrobes. Last week, 800 count silk. Today, scratchy plastic. Alina, please, she says. She doesn't use the microaggression anymore. She uses the deep love play. We're family, you can't let them take the bed, I have nowhere to sleep. I look at the tablet. Item 42, custom-made mattress, $8,400. Item 43, Egyptian cotton sheets, $1,200. I look at her. I spent 10 years sleeping on a cot in the office so you could have dreams, Sarah. The bed isn't yours. It belongs to the creditors. And the creditors, that's me. I bought the debt of Thorne Elite at 03:00 a.m. on Saturday. I own the lease on this penthouse. I own the clothes in her closet. I even own the $15,000 white truffles that are currently rotting in her fridge. The LVMH CEO said if I apologize, if you fix the data, he might drop the suit, Sarah whispers. She reaches for my hand. Her fingers are cold. They are shaking. Fix it, Alina, be the backbone one last time. I pull my hand back. I look at the silver cufflinks in my pocket. Ivy. Arthur Vance. Our father. The man who taught me that stability is a choice. I'm moving the chair, Sarah, I say. And you're about to find out what happens to a chandelier when it hits the floor. I hand her a small piece of paper. The bus schedule, the M15 line. The fare is $2.75. I've already canceled the private car service. The driver is working for me now. I walk to the window. Outside, the sun is hitting the glass of the Vance Tower. The city is a grid of data points. The weather report for Sarah Thorne. Extreme drought. 100% chance of a hard winter. I am the concrete. I am the piston. And for the first time in my life, I am the one who owns the land. Tuesday, 09:00:15 a.m. The boardroom of Thorne Elite. The 51st floor. The air in the room is filtered, pressurized, and smells of expensive anxiety. There are 12 chairs around the table. 11 of them are occupied by men in suits that cost more than a year of my life in 2013. The 12th chair, the one at the head of the table, is empty. They are waiting for Sarah. They think she is coming to save them. They think the social queen has a secret battery. They don't know she is currently at a laundromat in Queens, trying to figure out how to use a coin-operated dryer. The door opens. I walk in. I am not wearing the black turtlenecks. I am wearing a black suit of structured crepe. The lines are sharp. The fabric is heavy. It makes no sound when I move. I am holding a leather briefcase. The board members stand up. They look at me. They don't see the help. They see the machine that has returned to save their portfolios. The meeting will come to order, I say. My voice is the weather report, absolute zero. Alina, where is Sarah? The chairman asks. His name is Robert, an old family friend. The LVMH representatives are in the lobby. They're demanding the operational keys. I have the keys, Robert, I say. I open my briefcase. I pull out the audit. The real one. The infrastructure Sarah sold to LVMH doesn't exist. The 1,200 vendors, they have all signed non-compete agreements with Vance Global Resources, a company I registered in 2021. Thorne Elite is a hollow tree. The sap has been removed. I look at the board members. I see the realization hit them. They didn't invest in Sarah Thorne. They invested in the sturdy chair. and the chair just walked out of the room. What do we do? Robert asks. His voice is high, desperate. You do what the Sun people always do, I say. You find a scapegoat. And I have provided you with ones. Sarah Thorne. I've already delivered the personal lifestyle audit to the SEC. The $12 million she borrowed from the corporate fund, it's all there. Itemized. Dated. Signed by me. The microaggression of the boss. I didn't fire them. I made them the auditors of their own failures. Because in this building, the only thing worse than being a ghost is being accountable. The weather report for the boardrooms. Degrees. High winds. 100% chance of a total purge. The piston is back in the engine. And the engine is finally going to run on the truth. Wednesday, 02:14:00 a.m. I am in the server room. The humidity is 20%. The blue lights are flickering. It's the only place I feel at home. The machines don't lie. The data doesn't have aesthetic. It only has results. I am sitting on the floor. I have my laptop opened. I am watching the global news feed. Breaking: CEO of Thorne Elite charged with corporate fraud. Breaking: LVMHCANCLS $40 M buyout. Breaking: VANCE Global Resources acquires Thorne Elite assets for $1. I look at the stock price. It doesn't exist anymore. The company is private. It is mine. I reach into my pockets. I pull out a set of keys. They are the keys to the summer house in the Hamptons. The house where our mother, Evelyn, is currently sleeping on a mattress on the floor because I repossessed the bed at 6:00 p.m. tonight. I log into the security system for the house. I see the cameras. Evelyn is in the kitchen. She is drinking tap water from a plastic cup. She is crying. She looks at the empty walls. She looks at the space where the $450,000 renovation used to be. The weather report for Evelyn's soul is a total drought. I press a button. The conditional truth is activated. Trigger 4, the transfer of the deed to the Elena Vance Foundation for Working Women. I watch the screen. A message appears on Evelyn's phone. It's an automated notice. The property at 12 Ocean Lane has been donated to charity. Please vacate by 08:00 a.m. Evelyn drops the plastic cup. The water spills on the floor. The floor is made of reclaimed oak from a shipwreck. Price $200 per plank. She doesn't have a cloth. She doesn't have a mop. She just watches the water soak into the wood. The Sun woman is finally meeting the mud. I feel a vibration in my pockets. My phone. A text from Sarah. Elena, I'm sorry, I didn't mean the things I said. I was lost. I don't delete the text. I archive it. In a folder titled The Cost of a Lie. The folder currently has 4,212 files. The audit is complete. I look at the window. Outside, the sun is starting to rise over the city. The lights are turning off one by one. The ghosts are going home. But I am not a ghost anymore. I am the architect. The weather report for Elena Vance. 72 degrees. Perfectly stable. 100% chance of a new era. Thursday, 09:00 a.m. The lobby of the Vance Tower. The canyon of white marble is full of people. The Sun people are back. They are wearing their $5,000 suits and their $1,200 shoes. They are drinking lattes and talking about the rebirth of the brand. They are waiting for me. I step out of the black SUV. The driver opens the door. I walk into the lobby. The silence is absolute. It is a silence of respect. A silence of fear. A silence of people who know that the sturdy stone has become the owner. I walk past the digital screen in the lobby. The image of Sarah Thorne is gone. It has been replaced by a black and white photo of the plumbing. A photo of the engine of a Rolls-Royce. The aesthetic of the machine. I go to the 52nd floor. The executive suite is clean. The concrete floor is cool under my feet. The steel desk is a slab of dark truth in the center of the room. I sit in the Eames chair. It fits me now. I am heavy enough to fill it. I am the concrete. I am the machine. I am the only one who knows that the sun is just a light bulb that I control. Sarah is in the news again. The headline, socialite to plead guilty. Evelyn is in the news again. The headline, VANC matriarch living in shelter. I look at the cufflinks on my desk. Ivy. The name is a debt, Dad, I whisper. And the debt is paid. I look at the window. The humidity is 0%. The city is a grid of data points. I am 32 years old. I am the richest woman in the city. And I am perfectly, eternally alone. The weather report for the rest of my life. Clear skies. Visibility infinity. 100% chance of a life lived on my own terms. I pick up the Mont Blanc pens. I open a new folder. Title, The New Blueprint. I start to write. The first line. Stability is a choice. The king is on the throne. And the throne is made of iron.